Welcome to today's presentation titled Harvesting the Power of the Nordics for Your AI and HPC Workloads with Bulk Infrastructure's Sustainable Solutions. My name is Rob Elder. I'm Vice President of Data Centers at Bulk. And during today's presentation, if you have any questions, you can raise those using the chat function, which you should find somewhere at the bottom of your screen. Or again, if you have any comments, my contact details will be at the end should you wish to reach out afterwards, but anything I can't answer today, feel free to drop me a line separately. Obviously, it would be fantastic to be at GTC 2021 in person. We know that's not possible, so wherever you're working today, whether it's in the office or at home or somewhere slightly more relaxed, I hope that you're comfortable, and I hope that today, for around the next 30 minutes or so, I can provide you with some insights and some additional information which you hopefully will find of interest. Just running through the agenda, I'll tell you a little bit about bulk and bulk infrastructure for those that don't know. We'll talk about sustainability and how that relates to digital infrastructure, particularly within the Nordics. Mentioning the Nordics, I guess for those of you that perhaps aren't that familiar with the region, you may well have ideas of beautiful scenery, landscapes, mountains, certainly the case. Obviously Vikings for sure. Maybe Ragnar Lothbrok has inspired your interest through the series The Vikings. But also underpinned by real solutions around digital infrastructure, and looking at the potential cost benefits of locating that within the Nordics, as well as the substantial and significant carbon reduction opportunities by doing so. And then I'll talk a bit about bulk and some of our sustainable solutions. We like to walk the walk, as it were, so we're, as well as obviously adopting the electric vehicles. Here you can see the bulk Teslas that we would drive in Norway. It's much more impactful than that through our digital solutions, both the data centers and our fiber networks. So I'll talk about how we're approaching this within the Nordics. So harvesting the power of the Nordics for HPC and AI workloads. Now, I mentioned electric vehicles, so a little bit of facts about Norway just to start with, a little bit of a light introduction. Norway actually has by far the greatest percentage of electric vehicles per population than any other country in Europe and the world. And for those that may have missed it, it was highlighted quite nicely by Will Ferrell here in this General Motors advert, which was aired leading up to the Super Bowl. So just to give you a brief introduction to Norway and some of the work we're doing with electric vehicles, I'll just let this play.
Did you know that Norway sells way more electric cars per capita than the US? Norway. Well, I won't stand for it. Come on. Never mind. With GM's new Ultium battery, we're gonna crush those losers. Crush them! Let's go, America. Keenan, Norway's out EVing us. Wait, what's this?
Oh, it's my daughter's birthday. She's really into pirates
I don't
lately.
care. Grab an EV, meet me in Norway.
Okay, can I say goodbye to my family?
Nope.
All right.
Aquafina, sorry to disturb you, but Norway's beating us at EVs.
Nuh-uh.
Uh-huh.
Nuh-uh.
Uh-huh. Meet me there in an hour.
Can I ride with you?
No! GM's Ultium battery is made for all types of vehicles, so soon everyone can drive an EV. Oh!
Why didn't we all just go together?
Knowing Will, he's probably flying private.
Hey, Norway, listen up, you fish-loving! Oh, this place is adorable. Damn it. Where are you guys?
We're in Finland. Where are you?
I'm in Norway!
Norway? You're in Sweden.
Damn it!
And unlike Will there, I can absolutely reassure you that we are in Norway, headquartered in Norway, although we do operate in Denmark as well. So once lockdown is over and travel allows, obviously we would be delighted to welcome you to come and visit Bulk and our data centers. and I'm sure we can lay on travel slightly more comfortable than that taken by Will. Just want to introduce to you Bulk Infrastructure. Bulk was founded in 2006 to address some logistics challenges and some environmental issues associated with Oslo. At the time, there was a lot of logistics movements and goods vehicles moving through the city centre, creating a very polluted environment, particularly at certain times of the year in the winter. As a result, Bulk was founded to develop industrial units on the outskirts of Oslo to bring more of the traffic to these regions and develop logistics parks for warehousing, through docks, etc. Today, the company's focused on still industrial real estate, but also data centers and fiber networks. And at the core of our value proposition is around sustainability. It also has to be focused on infrastructure and focused within the Nordic region. But at the heart of what we do is focusing on sustainable solutions. As I mentioned today, Bulk is actually three different business units. Industrial real estate, very much still a strong part of what we do, focusing on, as I mentioned, warehousing, logistics across the Nordic region. We have our data center business, which is focused on currently 2 operational facilities within Norway and another data center site in Denmark. And our fiber networks business, which is delivering terrestrial network connectivity in and around the Nordic region through our own fiber systems, as well as subsea fiber networks connecting the Nordic region into the rest of Europe and across the North Sea into the US. Focusing a little bit here on the vision of Bulk. It's about looking at the renewable energy opportunities for data processing moving forward. Looking at the map here, which explains it much clearer than I probably can. It's about looking at the renewable locations in the Northern Hemisphere where we could serve large-scale data processing moving forward. Our vision is about racing to bring a sustainable infrastructure to a global audience. And here, whilst we're operating today in the Nordics, we see as a huge opportunity to connect other massive renewable energy nations, such as, for example, Atlantic Canada, in order to bring a sustainable solution across the globe. And these regions, particularly in the Nordics, have been served by power-intensive industries for many years. So there is a huge amount of established infrastructure to support these data processing requirements. So we very much want to facilitate the opportunity for organizations to deploy infrastructure in these regions and take advantage of this massive opportunity. And at the same time, analysts predict, numbers vary slightly, but the absolute agreement is that the consumption, electrical consumption of data centers is increasing significantly. And here we see analysts predicting by 2030 that it will represent electrical consumption against other industries of up to 13%. And at the same time, with a lot of these workloads being deployed in non-sustainable dirty grid locations, the greenhouse gas emissions and the environmental impact of that growth is significant. Today, representing perhaps just 1% of global emissions, but increasing significantly over the next 10 years. Just to bring some context to the impact of location on 2 elements. 1, the carbon footprint, and 2, the cost. So looking here at the carbon impact of a workload, we're taking a comparison of 1 megawatt of IT load, and we're looking at comparing the CO2 emissions and the impact of that operating in Norway versus operating in a well-established market in Europe, let's say London. Now, running that 1 megawatt workload over just 1 calendar year equates to a massive difference in CO2 emissions. And there's some examples here just to compare against, for example, 1,142 homes of energy. That's just for 1 year. If you expand that over the length of a contract, you factor in the other electrical loads associated with non-IT, and perhaps you increase the capacity to a typical workload, you might find 3 to 10 megawatts, then the environmental impact of that one data center can be massive over its life cycle. And that's just looking at energy consumption. So it's clear if you want to have a significant and direct impact on the CO2 emissions created by these things, you need to look at exactly where they're located and what power they are consuming. As we all know, sustainability initiatives also need to be sustainable for the long term through cost and through investment. And at the same time as driving down the environmental emissions and the CO2 impact of data centers, there is a clear cost advantage for moving these workloads to the low-cost regions, particularly in Europe. The Nordic region is by far the lowest cost in Europe, and Norway in particular has some very low costs for energy consumption. And here we just take that similar example, mapping out that workload actually over a 10-year period and looking at a 20 megawatt data center load. The cost saving alone, just on predicted future power costs, is over 200 million euros. The compelling proposition to look at both driving a more environmentally sustainable solution and a lower cost solution is absolutely achievable. And by building infrastructure in this region, we can facilitate that growth. Sustainability does go further than just power consumption. It looks much more actually at the whole life cycle of a business and obviously of operating and managing digital infrastructure. So just to highlight, Bulk are absolutely dedicated to adopting all of the appropriate initiatives aligned to here the UN sustainability goals and all of the other initiatives that we need to consider to drive down the overall impact of our operations. However, just as highlighting one example here, resource efficiency, particularly water. As we develop more efficient data centers, we consume more natural resources. It's not just scarcity of power, but it's also scarcity and availability of water to drive these efficient cooling technologies, often in less optimal climates, which are a big consideration in terms of where we go and put data centers. There's particular focus on the different elements of the greenhouse gas protocol and looking at the environmental impact of all of the elements going into the supply chain and the development and construction of, let's say, data centers and all of the appropriate infrastructure to support them, at the same time as what we're actually delivering on the output. So how we're actually delivering environmental impact on the overall operation of this digital infrastructure. And that's therefore looking at combining the applications, the infrastructure itself, and operating efficient IT in these data centers to bring together the whole ecosystem, if you like, of data center operations. And given the density and power-hungry elements of HPC and AI, there is a clear direct correlation between efficient data center operation and design and matching that with high-performance computing and AI workloads. And if that's deployed in an environment such as the Nordics, with all of the associated additional benefits we've just highlighted, then we can make a significant impact. Given we're talking a little bit today about harvesting the power of the Nordics, just want to dig a little bit more into the power elements. Just on the right-hand side of the page here, we can see a comparison of the percentage of renewables in different regions. And clearly the Nordics and Norway are very strong in this area, with almost 100% in the case of Norway's energy being from renewables, predominantly hydro. The graph below that identifies the comparison of cost of that energy. And again, as you can see, as well as having the most renewable, it's also the cheapest energy, or certainly some of the cheapest energy you will be able to purchase in Europe and globally. But there's another element of power which is often overlooked, and that is the scale of the available power supplies in this case Norway. The Nordic region's divided into areas as part of a regulated market for the Nord Pool for being able to procure and supply energy demand in different regions. And looking at the map here, you can see, for example, in Sweden, there's a few different areas with the predominance of hydro generation in the north of the country. And in Norway, there's 5 different areas. And our mega campus, which I'll talk about in a moment, is actually on the very southern tip of Norway in N02. And the important thing to note here is that the hydro pool, if you like, of reservoir water obviously varies throughout the year, but acts as a battery. And the majority of that hydro is actually stored in the south, with around 39% in the case of the N02 region, which is where our N01 data center campus is located. And in total, it represents around 50% of all of the reservoir capacity in Europe. So in terms of delivering scale, in terms of delivering security of supply, you can't really do any better than the hydropower, particularly in the Nordic region. In addition to that, stability and security of both the environmental conditions and also the country itself is important. The Nordics is a very stable place, and most of the different indexes you'll see, the Nordic countries score very well here. But it's important to highlight that all of the appropriate data protection, security elements are in place to facilitate the deployment of a range of different digital infrastructure. And at the same time, Norway itself has a number of different initiatives and policies tackling some of these elements, whether it be the data center sector itself or whether it be AI. There's some additional information at the back of this presentation for you to access in order to have a look in more detail if you want to read up a little bit further. But safe to say, the environment for housing this infrastructure is very secure. And in terms of the workforce, when companies are looking to put infrastructure into the Nordics, you also need to consider access to available skills, services, companies who can support both the deployment and operations. Again, we'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment, but having the availability of that solutions and services to support is an important aspect as well. Having available resources in terms of land, power, infrastructure is one thing, but accessing that through high-speed, modern data networks is also vital. And in the past, particularly, Norway's potentially been underserviced in relation to international and domestic fiber infrastructure, and that's certainly not the case today. So in order to unlock that potential, Bulk, along with other organisations, have invested heavily in installing and implementing fibre infrastructure, both subsea and terrestrial networks, as well as linking into other key Nordic and European markets. So we can deliver the diversity of connectivity, ensuring that there is the availability of and access to data, and at the same time high capacity, dealing with modern and often data intensive workloads. So there's a multitude of different options and locations, and a little bit further on there's a fibre map to just show you where the location of some of these sites are in relation to the landing of and the interconnection of some of these fibre networks. Just digging a little bit now into what Bulk provide and how Bulk are helping companies take advantage of some of these opportunities within the Nordics. Bulk data centers provide a range of co-location and data center solutions, starting from co-location services within a shared environment in the form of racks, cages, etc., right through to powered land. And in the middle, we provide a tailored and flexible approach to engineering specific solutions for clients' requirements, whether it be around availability, capacity, or density. And we can also offer build-to-suit requirements if customers have specific needs that need to be addressed. And on top of that, we can facilitate companies deploying workloads in the Nordics, whether they operate a business in the region or not, both on the logistics and the planning side, helping to actually bring goods into the country, actually implementing and installing that infrastructure, doing all the appropriate testing, and then actually in operating and managing that infrastructure for the full life cycle. And layering on top of that, through working with partners across the full stack, we can support a range of hardware as a service, capacity as a service, and a range of different ongoing lifecycle management support services. So really it's about tailoring what we can deliver on top of the huge opportunities for large-scale infrastructure with tailored solutions and services. Particularly when we look at high density and high performance computing, very much aligned with the NVIDIA technology and GPU and DGX stack. It's looking at how can you deliver high performance computing environments specific to HPC and AI. And here is just an example of where Bulk have developed a particular solution to a customer's need, where we've deployed cooling and high density racks within a white space using in-row cooling, supporting high density applications up to and including racks of 35 to 40 kilowatts. In addition to that, the development of our design and our site master planning can support equipment, whether it be air-cooled, whether it be water-cooled, or whether it be direct liquid cooled, or in some cases the form of immersion cooling. Ultimately, it's about catering for the flexible nature of future deployments and future-proofing our infrastructure to support a long-term strategy for companies deploying these types of workloads. Just taking a closer look now at N01 campus. This is our large-scale data center campus located on the southern tip of Norway, close to the city of Kristiansand, one of Norway's largest cities. With international transport links through international airport and seaport, it's easily accessible from international locations and into mainland Europe. What Bulk have developed is a site with 10 separate land parcels covering over 3 square kilometers of land. With access to up to 1 gigawatt of power in the future, we can support unrivaled growth with massive scale. So today what we've developed are 2 land parcels with the capability to support up to 100 megawatts of compute. Directly connected through diverse substations on site, we connect directly into the Kristiansand transformer station. This is one of Europe's largest transformer stations. With over 12 independent feed, it provides huge amounts of capacity as well as resilience. And supporting those incoming feeds are over 100 hydro turbines. So it's one of the most renewable substations in Europe as well. This high capacity, highly resilient, and also highly sustainable energy source is a key element to why we believe and why we think we can support high performance compute workloads in the Nordics. What we have today is an existing facility supporting a mixture of co-location and high performance computing. And we also have future development plans where we're just starting to build a new high performance computing building capable of supporting up to 100 kilowatts per rack. Something which can support the latest direct liquid cooled and high performance computing equipment. As well as having large capacity data center opportunities, I mentioned earlier, it's key obviously to provide access to those locations through high speed, high capacity fiber networks. What I'm showing here is a map of the Bulk fiber network system and highlighting a few key features really. The site at Kristiansand is directly connected into our Havru cable system. This cable system is newly installed and provides direct connectivity via the North Sea directly into the US. Branching off as well into Dublin and also with a leg down into Denmark, we can provide high capacity routes directly into key markets. With these cables directly connected into our campus in both N01 and also down in Denmark, it gives an excellent opportunity to match both high performance computing with high data capacity needs. In addition, we have another leg called the Hingston cable, which goes from Denmark across the UK and into Ireland, creating a ring structure, bringing diversity to key data network routes. In addition, through direct new subsea cables, we're installing the Havsil cable from Norway down into Denmark, and additional cable systems that we're involved in. We can also support a multitude of different routing options and capacity requirements within the European market. Accessing redundant high capacity networks in Norway is also key, and Bulk operate and have supported the installation of a fiber ring around the Nordic region in Norway, connecting up the key cities and locations within Norway. So ensuring we can deliver and match the capacity on the data center side with our fiber networks is really key. And we also here highlight how the plans evolve into supporting that vision to connect the large renewable energy giants of the world through our newly planned Leif Erikson cable. This gives key opportunities to connect these northern regions which have an abundance of and availability of high capacity, resilient hydropower. I'm delighted to say that both of our facilities in Norway, both O6 and N01 campus, have been certified by NVIDIA as being DGX ready, which means they're the first data centers in Norway, the first data centers powered by 100% carbon-free hydro energy, and the first data centers combining high-capacity international fiber networks with massive scalability, enabling us to deliver rapid deployments tailored specifically for your solutions. And you can read an example of one of our recent customers deploying at our N01 campus on this case study, which can be found along with other information at our website on our dedicated GTC landing page. So that brings us to the end of the presentation. I very much thank you for joining the session today. I hope you found it useful and interesting. Just by way of a quick wrap up, just want to highlight what we've covered really. So obviously we focused initially on sustainability and the key importance of access to directly connected green energy. And obviously hopefully the Nordics can play a key part in supporting HPC, AI and other digital services moving into the future. We looked at scale and the importance of being able to support that scale through growth and infrastructure. And at the same time, Bulk's approach to that through the solutions and services that we offer both on the data center side and on the fiber network side. Particularly on the data center side, just highlighting the fact that our facilities in Norway are DGX certified, ready for your NVIDIA equipment. So once again, thank you very much for joining. Just here on the last slide, there's a few links and documents that you may wish to access to find out a little bit more. Also on the next page, here are my contact details and a link to our website. So please do feel free to reach out if you have any questions or any comments about the things we've discussed today, and or if you want to inquire further about how Bulk and the Nordics can support your HPC and AI requirements moving forward. Thank you very much once again, and hopefully speak to you soon.